And now back to our top story, Wayne Swan's stoush with mining magnates Clive Palmer, Andrew Forrest and Gina Rinehart. The Treasurer and Deputy Prime Minister joined me earlier from our Parliament House studio to discuss the day's events. Wayne Swan, thanks for being there.
Good to be with you.
Doesn't Australia owe a debt of gratitude to the likes of Clive Palmer, Gina Rinehart, Andrew Forrest for the wealth they've created for the country?
Well, the wealth that's created in the mining industry is very important for Australia, and what we want is a prosperous country. We've got a very big investment in mining. That's a pipeline of investment that is creating opportunity in Australia. The point I've been making is that there are a few people in this country, some of the billionaires you've just named, who are seeking to exert too much influence on the outcomes of that wealth creation. They get a very good reward for what they do, but this country needs to be concerned about where the fair go is going when people are spending large amounts of private cash to try and sabotage public policy.
You've said that the likes of Gina Rinehart, Clive Palmer and Andrew Forrest are a threat to democracy, but where is the evidence of that? What exactly do you mean?
Well, we have reached a sensible conclusion with the mining industry about the mining resource rent tax. What that means is that Australians will get fair value for the resources they own 100%. But we've seen this campaign conducted, particularly by a number of individuals, against that agreement. And the fact is they're seeking to cloak their self-interest in the national interest. What I've been saying is we have to be alive to what is happening here, because if we want to be the country of the fair go and we want to see the opportunities spread fairly from the opportunities that come from the mining boom, then we have to be awake to the tactics of people, particularly like Mr Palmer.
The Australian people are quite aware of what's going on, aren't they? I mean, it's called robust debate, isn't it?
Yes, it is robust debate, and I want a national conversation about it. I don't step back from a very strong national debate about this, because the government has put in place a number of very important long-term reforms, carbon pricing, for example, where we've seen all manner of vested interests clothe that vested interest in their self-interest and seek to sabotage the implementation of long-term policy for the good of the country. So I'm calling for a wider debate that goes beyond a couple of billionaires, a wider debate about how we strengthen our economy for the future, how we make the most of the Asian century, how we make this the Australian century in Asia. But we can only do that if we keep the fair go, and we can only do that if everybody has the sense that we have strong social mobility. We are far more equal than many other developed economies in the world, but in many of those societies, equality is receding, social mobility is reducing. We have to be aware here that we've got to keep the essence of the fair go alive, that is high social mobility in Australia. And what that means is strong public policies which take on the vested interests who seek to distort those public policies.
But apart from funding advertising campaigns against government policies that they say they don't believe in, where is the evidence that, as you put it, these individuals are a threat to democracy?
Well, it hasn't just been there in terms of the MRRT. We've seen all manner of campaigns run by powerful self-interested interest groups who've been opposing public policy when it comes to carbon pricing. And in fact, we've seen the way in which their claims have been transmitted into the newspapers, and on many occasions without adequate scrutiny. I think there's ample evidence right across the board. I mean, you've got Mr Forrest today, given the fact that we are having this debate, suddenly taking out full-page newspaper ads. The average punter only gets to vote at the election. They might get to ring up a radio station. They don't get to take out full-page ads like Mr Forrest has taken out today. I think that proves the point.
Well, let's have a look at the ad that he published today. In it, he attempts to make the point that he pays more than $1 billion a year in taxes. He employs directly or indirectly tens of thousands of people, and that in his view, those things combined give him the right to express his opinions.
Well, he can give his opinion, but it's got a lot more force when it's backed by all of that money. The fact is, until the end of last year, Mr Forrest...
But a lot of that money comes back to the government for the benefit of the country.
Well... Well, you could excuse anything if that was the line you were going to run. The fact is, until the end of last year, he hadn't paid any company tax at all. At the same time, he had been campaigning vigorously against the mining resource rent tax. You see, this is the point I'm making. We've got good public policy. It's being opposed by powerful vested interests, and they are prepared to use all of their resources to get an outcome for them, not necessarily for the country.
Wayne Swan, you're being a bit mischievous, aren't you, when you claim that Andrew Forrest doesn't pay company tax?
No, I'm not.
Because, of course, companies like Fortescue, we all know, can claim millions in tax deductions to account for the huge sums that they invest in infrastructure for the country. And you're also overlooking the fact that he pays an enormous amount of money in payroll tax, royalties and other taxes.
Let's put it this way. Mr Forrest was conducting a campaign against a tax at a time when he was not paying company tax himself. That's point number one.
But he was paying other taxes and royalties. You'd have to concede that.
Yes, he was paying royalties, like he should have been paying royalties. But point number two...
More than $1 billion worth.
Well, that's not true, and you ought to go and have a look at the facts. The fact is that other companies who are paying...
He's paid for full-page ads today in which his company claims to be paying more than $1 billion in tax a year. Are they lying?
Well, you've just misrepresented what he was saying in the ad. But anyway, the fact is other companies out there that are paying their royalties or paying company tax aren't behaving like Mr Forrest. And